The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when how I wish you were here.
Doesn't have to be like this.
it's like it was, still close song, it's there on the pulse, it's louder than words, louder than words. The time is gone, the song is over, thought I had something more to say. Just when the phone rang, I never had the nerve to make the final cut. I have become comfortably numb.
This is Patty Hunter with Patty's Page. Welcome Today I'm with my special guest, Damian Darlington of Brit Floyd. So we are now up in the music room upstairs in the Embassy Theater, and we're in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I have a lot of questions for you. So Damian, you are one of the vocalists, guitarists, and the music director of Brit Floyd.
Yes. Yes.
Now, let's rehash what we did 2 years ago.
Okay.
Why was Brit Floyd started and how long ago?
Well, it started 6.5 years ago. Prior to starting out with Brit Floyd, I was in another Pink Floyd show for some 17 years. I played with the Australian Pink Floyd show. And after doing that for such a long period of time, I decided that it was time to start my own Pink Floyd show, have a bit more freedom to play this music in the way that I wanted to, work with some different musicians, and hopefully do a better job of bringing the experience for audiences to enjoy this music.
So how many are in the band now? Every year is the same bunch of people or different?
No, I mean there are. Obviously, I've been there all the way through. There are some of the other musicians who play at every show, but we also have some of the roles like the keyboard and the drums that they're shared by different musicians. Because we do a lot of touring. We do anything up to 150 shows a year, so not everybody can commit to that amount of touring. So some of the roles are shared out.
So your immersion tour, world tour, great. 2017, North America Lake 2. Lake 2?
Well, the tour basically lasts for a whole year, but we split it up into sections, so we call them legs. So we started off back in the UK back in February. We did about 2 or 3 weeks of touring there, and then we came to the US at the beginning of March. Stumbling over my own words here.
Yeah, UK, Europe, and North America.
Well, we haven't done any European dates, continental European dates as yet.
A month or two there, or?
Well, when we finish here in a couple of days' time, we do some one-off shows in Europe. We're going to Rome, and we're doing a show in Sweden and one in Lithuania, and then we have a bit of a break, and then we start a proper month-long tour of much of Northern Europe at the end of September.
And they all understand you?
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd,
it has a universal appeal. You find fans of this music everywhere, so that's what they understand.
How old were you when you started getting interested in Pink Floyd?
Probably about 13 years old. I mean, I was aware of them earlier than that. When Another Brick in the Wall, it was a very unlikely #1 Christmas single in the end of 1979. So that's my first memories of Pink Floyd. But I became a proper fan from about the age of 13 onwards.
So how long has Pink Floyd, when did they start and when did they did it disband and all that?
Well, originally started in about 1965, and they brought their first album out in '67. It sort of went on through to about 1994, solidly, and then it was never sort of formally disbanded, but it didn't do anything else until 2005 when they reunited with Roger Waters for a one-off performance at the Live 8 show in London. And now David Gilmour has sort of formally said Pink Floyd is over. They released the Endless River album a couple of years ago, and he very much regards that as being a sort of full stop period on the end of Pink Floyd's career.
You're carrying it through. You're keeping it going.
Well, there's still a huge demand to experience this music live out there, so that's what we're all about, giving people the chance to do that.
You're doing good too. You have been quoted as being the world's greatest Pink Floyd show. Who gave you that name?
Somebody who sort of thought it sounded good, but it had a ring to it, and you've got to be confident about what you do. You've got to believe that we are putting on the best Pink Floyd show, that we can, and that's out there. So it's all part of promoting what we do.
Are there other things you do besides Pink Floyd?
Certainly, I've played all sorts of music over the years. More recently, I was involved in a group in the UK called the Classic Rock Show, where I got to play, a lot of great music from the 60s, 70s and 80s outside of Pink Floyd, from bands such as Led Zeppelin and The Who and Genesis and Steely Dan and Supertramp.
Now I say who.
And that continues to tour now, but I've taken a back seat with that one now because I have so much touring to do with Brit Floyd. It's difficult to do both things at the moment.
Yeah, you kind of pull yourself out. Yeah, Brit Floyd. It is classic rock and psychedelic in a way.
Certainly, it started. Excuse me. It started out that way in the '60s. It was very much part of what was called the psychedelic era of bands that emerged in the late '60s. But I think it sort of progressed on from that. Certainly by the metal album Dark Side of the Moon, you couldn't really describe them as a psychedelic group anymore by that point.
They were solid. They were solid.
No, they'd learned their craft. I think they discovered their sound by that point.
So, in your tour, how many are in the band, do you know?
It's a 9-piece band.
9-piece.
That people get to see.
And you have extras, right, you said before, no?
Yeah, we have other musicians that step in and out of some of the roles.
So there's, okay. Also, you're paying tribute to Pink Floyd album called Animals.
Yeah.
How old was that, and how many songs will you be singing?
Well, it's the 40th anniversary
40th.
Of the release of the Animals album. It's definitely one of their classic albums. From their sort of most productive period in the 70s. That was when they released it. We're doing the whole first side of that album. And
Do you know some of the songs?
I do know some of them. I've played them once or twice. Given the length of some Pink Floyd songs, playing just the one side of it actually only includes 2 tracks, which is Pigs on the Wing Part 1 and the epic track Dogs.
Epic track Dogs?
Yeah, well, it's
What's
called
it
Dogs. Yeah, well, it's the whole Animals album is sort of using animals as an analogy for as a way of sort of commenting on things in society, human nature,
right.
Struggles in life, those sorts of things. But it's using dogs, pigs, sheep as analogies for human beings and their situations.
Well, you also in the background when you're singing on stage, you have pictures, video and all that.
Yes, I mean it's
Is that
one thing.
originally from them?
Well, it's certainly the case that Pink Floyd, right from their sort of early touring history, pioneered the use of video on stage as part of their shows, and they had, the visuals became an extremely important part of what they did when it came to the concert experience that they created. So we've got to emulate that as best we can as well, and all the video, all the imagery that you see in our shows, it's not the original Pink Floyd footage, but it may well be referencing it, recreating some of it, producing sort of iconic Pink Floyd imagery from album covers and such like it in a different way than was originally the case.
Right, and you have laser.
Yeah, of course, how could Pink Floyd without lasers?
Can't do it without laser, I'm telling you. What do you see for Brit Floyd's future?
Continue touring, hopefully getting to go to places in the world that we haven't been to yet. For Asia, for example.
You haven't been there?
No, we haven't played in places like Japan or China or
Japan
India.
will love you.
I'm sure. I hope to find out in the not too distant future what the audiences will be like there. So yeah, that's certainly the ambition, and obviously here in the US and in Europe, just to continue getting bigger, playing to bigger audiences and improving our show wherever we possibly can.
And this perseverance of you doing Brit Floyd all these years, what motivated you to continue being with it?
Well, obviously a love of the music itself. It's great music. As I mentioned earlier, I've been a fan of this music for since I was 13 years old.
Right. That's a long time, eh?
Yeah, I'm always, as a sort of musician and as a person, I'm always wanting to sort of get things as good as I possibly can, you know, whatever I set my hand to. So, and it's a pleasure to play with other good musicians, playing good music, and to play in front of audiences that appreciate what you do. So, you know, all these sort of things motivate me to carry on doing what I do, and the rest of the band as well.
Do you sing the songs over and over? Do you do it in the same, each year, the same schedule?
What, the touring schedule?
Yeah.
Well, it's more or less the same sort of schedule. We might do a few more shows one year compared with another, but we're doing similar sorts of touring periods at the same sorts of times of year. So, and I don't see any sign of that changing, you know, in the next few years. That's for sure.
And the themes that you are doing every year, like the Immersion tour, World Tour, and the last one, Discovery.
No, that was two
2 years ago. It's been a while, eh? What did you do last year?
Space and Time, it was called.
Space and Time.
Very cosmic.
Wow. What did you do last year?
Sorry?
What did you do last year?
Well, there's such a big catalogue of Pink Floyd music that fortunately we can change the setup every year. Obviously there are certain songs that we do every time. People are going to want to hear Another Brick in the Wall, Comfortably Numb, Wish You Were Here, tracks like that. But outside of those classic tracks, there are a lot of other great Pink Floyd tracks that we can bring in and out of the set so that people get a very different experience when they come year after year.
How many albums have they done? Pink Floyd?
50. I think it's 15 studio albums
50.
altogether and 3 live albums.
And how many have you done for Red Floyd? And
well, we've played tracks off every one of those albums. Certainly, we've played all the tracks off Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, Animals, The Wall. Some of the earlier albums, we've certainly represented them, but we haven't played every single track off something. But we've certainly done about 3/4 of Pink Floyd's catalogue now live.
And you're on YouTube. They have DVDs.
We do. We have. We've filmed 3 concerts now. 2011 in Liverpool in England, 2013 at Red Rocks in Colorado, and the most recent one we filmed was in Amsterdam in Holland in 2015.
So how's Amsterdam? I've never been there. I understand it's pretty good.
It's a very interesting place, definitely.
Was it in bloom?
Probably not, because I think it was November when we were there. A bit late for the tulips, I think, or early.
I think they're all done, eh? So where are you going after this?
We've got one more show on this leg of the US tour. It's somewhere in upstate New York, quite near to Niagara Falls, and that'll be the last tour in the US until we return here in November.
What about Canada?
Canada, we will have some shows in Canada
there.
in November as well. There's some US dates.
Are you coming back here in November, or just
No,
away in the other parts?
No, we're sort of filling in all the gaps that we didn't get to over the last few months.
So after this, you rest?
Just for a week, and then I go off to Rome and Padua in Italy, and Sweden and Lithuania, and then we have a rest for about 6 weeks.
All roads lead to Rome. Listen, I'd like to thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
I've seen you again. You were.
It's pretty hot out there. I've just been out for walking out.
Mercy for heavens. So, the rest of the band, how did they get together with you?
A few of the members had been playing in the same Pink Floyd show that I was in prior to starting out, Brit Floyd, and other musicians. They end up playing with the band in various different ways. Sometimes we audition musicians, other times somebody's recommended to you by somebody whose opinion you respect. So there's a few different ways that these musicians have ended up playing Brit Floyd.
Do you write your own?
Do I write my own music? I certainly have in the past.
But do you sing it?
Because
in Brit Floyd, you have to sing.
I've never really been a lyricist. I've never really written lyrics, but I've certainly been in original material bands where I've produced the music for other people's lyrics and written some instrumental tunes of my own and things like that. I don't get much time to do that these days because I'm so busy with Brit Floyd.
So how many other bands? I forgot. We talked about 2 years ago. What other bands were you with then? Do you keep in touch with them?
Well, yeah, I've been playing in bands since I was like 15, 16 years old, and that'd be telling.
I won't tell you mine either.
I'm still in touch with some of the musicians I've played with over the years. I still live in the same hometown as I did then, so I still see some of the people I've been playing music with since I was a teenager.
Is the Cavern still there?
That's in Liverpool. I don't live in Liverpool, but yeah, there is a recreation of the Cavern in Liverpool. It's not the original one that the Beatles played in, but it's like a very
You've seen
exact.
them,
The Beatles?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not old enough to have seen the Beatles, but I did meet George Harrison. I did meet George Harrison once at David Gilmour's 50th birthday party of all things.
Oh my goodness! Up there, he's getting up there. Do you realize it's been 1964 when they first came over here to Americas? I was 12 years old. And how old were you when you...
I was minus something in 1964.
You were just a glitter in someone's eye.
A glint in the milkman's eye, as we say.
You might say. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on to my show. Is there anything you would like to say to my audience, encouragement, or just saying thank you?
Well, if thank you for anybody out there who's been along to see a Brit Floyd show, and I hope you, if you haven't, I hope you come along and get to check us out in the near future, and I'm sure you'll have a wonderful night of enjoying Pink Floyd music.
Of course, and we're going to see it tonight, eh?
Yeah.
And listen, do you come every 2 years or something? Is that how you
A lot of places we tend to sort of return after 2 years.
Okay, then I'm looking forward. I'll still be here, old boy.
Okay.
Well, listen. Thank you, Damian Darlington of Brit Floyd. So we say adieu and see you next week. Enjoy. Bye-bye.
the